Hi, and welcome to the News Channel broadcast. The Congress has two chambers, the Senate and the House of Representatives. The Senate is smaller, with each state having 2 senators, and the House is larger, with each state having a number of representatives proportional to its population. Article 1 of the Constitution explains the powers and restrictions upon the powers held in Congress and each of the 3 branches of Congress. Holds checks to allow the balancing of powers. The legislative branch, or Congress, is allowed to impeach judges, approve treaties, and multiple other checks. Today we are here to show you the facts behind Congress and how it works to give you the best possible life of freedoms in America. Here's tonight with the next information.
Okay, so I'm going to be talking to you guys about congressional leadership. Basically, I'm going to start off talking about the House of Representatives, which is just the Speaker in the House. They're basically just chosen by whichever party is in the majority. And within the House, there's 2 assistants, one who helps run things, and those would be the Majority Leader and the Whip. So the role of the Majority Leader is just mainly to keep people voting correctly, and the Majority Leader just includes tasks that have to do with guiding policy and just overall do what's good for the party. And the role that Minority Leaders play in the House is they're basically just the party spokesperson, like for the House of the Representatives. And the leader of the Senate are basically chosen by the Majority Leader. As for the President pro tempore, their job is basically just to fill in for the President when they're not there, and they're just chosen by the oldest person within the party.
Thank you tonight for explaining the roles of leadership within Congress. Here's Lexi to explain the congressional committees.
Okay, so I'm going to be talking to you guys about roles of congressional committees. The purpose of congressional committees is to allow members to divide work, to select bills that will be introduced, and to help the public learn about key problems and issues. There are 3 different types of committees. The first one is standing committee, and this is a permanent committee that deals with legislative issues, and they consider and shape the vast majority of proposed laws. The next one is select committees, and this is a temporary committee that deals with temporary issues, but sometimes if the committee is long-standing, it can become a standing committee and become permanent. A joint committee is a committee consisting of members of both houses and usually deals with specific issues.
Thank you, Lexi, for explaining the role of congressional committees. Here's our next reporter explaining the importance of leadership and who makes the important decisions in Congress.
I'll be talking about who influences congressmen to make their decisions, and there are many different factors that influence Congress to make their decisions. The most common are the political parties, the staff, the colleagues of the president, organized interest groups, and constituents. Congress is organized along party lines. Political parties are determined by Political party lines are determined by what Congress eliminates and decides. For example, which is divided. For example, the office and committees assign and budget the earning marks that are made.
All that background information about how Congress works brings us to today. In 2018, Congress is facing more important issues than ever, and each of these poses challenges to the legislative branch. Some of these issues include gun control. Given the explosion of gun violence in the United States in recent years, many lawmakers and citizens alike are calling for stricter regulations on firearms. Congress will have to decide if semi-automatic weapons should be banned nationwide, or if they need to implement more in-depth background checks for gun owners. Another issue is spending on domestic defense. Many Americans consider our military the most important use of federal funds, but others feel domestic spending is more important. Congress will have to decide how to allocate funds to cope with this disagreement. Disaster relief. When a serious disaster hits another part of the world, such as the disaster in Puerto Rico, it is often considered the United States' duty to help. However, Congress often argues and struggles to agree on a budget for such efforts. The Affordable Care Act. Ever since the Obama administration passed the Affordable Care Act, Democrats and Republicans have disagreed over it. Many Republicans want it repealed, while others feel that revisions would be sufficient in order to make it give it the best functionality for American citizens. The Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals Act. Since Republicans became the majority in Congress, the fate of those who immigrated to the United States illegally with their families as minors has been unsure, due to the president's threats to repeal DACA. Recently, an act to end DACA legislation was shot down and did not pass out of the House of Representatives.